The scene shifts to a room where a vase lies shattered on the floor, and a startled woman's voice is heard questioning, "What the hell do you mean?" Her butler, seeing the woman's hands tremble as she seeks confirmation, says, "One is missing, and the other 6 were found dead." The butler confirms, adding, "Young Master Cyan left Saffron 10 days ago." Having heard everything, the woman is deeply shocked and exclaims, "You said it wouldn't be a problem. How did that happen?" The butler bows apologetically and replies, "We've underestimated the young master." Enraged, the woman rebukes him. "How can you fail at getting rid of some little child?" The butler, with a worried expression, attempts to suggest, "I think there must be someone behind the scenes that we don't know of. If you give me one more chance, I'll send someone to the academy too." The woman cuts him off angrily and anxiously states, "Enough! If we do that, then sign. If he puts even a hand on Krantz." Remembering Cyan's terrifying face and his past threats, she adds, "Don't you want your son to graduate in one piece?" Just recalling it makes the woman fearful of the consequences if she takes any further action. She then turns away and orders the butler, "It's fine. Don't do anything." The butler bows in obedience, and the woman continues, "And no one must know about this." The butler acknowledges the request and follows the woman's instructions. As the butler leaves, his actions catch the attention of Askell. The scene shifts to Cyan, who lounges comfortably on a horse-drawn carriage, thinking, "It has been 10 days since we left Saffron. Brian has been acting as my subordinate all this time. I assume they know that I'm still alive. At this rate, I'll safely arrive at the Royal Academy, so I'll have to think about what to do with Brian." Interrupting Cyan's rest, Brian opens the carriage window and announces their arrival. Cyan half opens his eyes, confirming the information. As they reach the academy, Cyan reminisces, brings back the old days. "I can't really call them good memories, but this academy changed me in many ways." Cyan stands before the academy's reception desk, presenting his family crest and introducing himself as Cyan Vert of the Duke Vert family. The staff, upon hearing Cyan's family name, express surprise. The woman attempts to regain composure and welcomes Cyan with a smile. "Yes, of course. You're registered." She then instructs Cyan, "You just need to go to the assigned dormitory and wait." The woman at the reception desk continues, "You'll need to attend the entrance ceremony and the elemental test in 2 days." Cyan is surprised to learn he's been assigned a private room and wonders if he's misunderstanding something. The woman remains silent, handing Cyan a tray with his belongings, including a key to his designated room and a letter. Cyan, still incredulous, tries to confirm with the woman, "Are you sure you haven't made a mistake?" Cyan and Brian move to their assigned room. Brian, overwhelmed, drops all the luggage abruptly with a shocked expression, staring wide-eyed and speechless. As Cyan enters the room, he observes the luxurious surroundings and quietly evaluates, "The Royal Hall? No one in my family has ever been assigned to the Royal Hall. Someone has to be behind this." Cyan turns to Brian to confirm the information and asks, "Is that all the luggage there was?" Brian, still in shock, responds firmly, "Yes, that's all you had." Cyan then reaches into his coat, intending to retrieve something, and says, "Since I made it to the academy and all the luggage is here, your role is done?" Brian, terrified by Cyan's words, breaks into a cold sweat and begs Cyan for mercy. However, Cyan surprises him by tossing a bag of gold coins. Brian, bewildered, tries to understand the situation. Cyan turns away towards the window, waving his hand, and says, "For all your work, it should be enough to help you start a new life wherever you go. You might end up dead, so don't go back to Velius. Although I won't stop you." Hearing this, Brian's expression becomes solemn, and he stands frozen for a moment. Then, suddenly, Brian kneels on one knee and declares, "I, Brian Kendrick, an official knight of Velias, would like permission to serve you my entire life." Cyan, with a puzzled, naive expression, asks, "You're a knight? I thought you were a coachman." Brian responds hesitantly, "Yes, although I'm the lowest of the low, so I was on stuff like coachman duty." Brian then adds, "My father always used to tell me that if I meet someone I can trust and serve all my life, I should ask to serve him without hesitation." Hearing Cyan's unsatisfied tone, Brian doesn't fully grasp what Cyan is referring to. Cyan, now emanating a formidable aura, looks at Brian and asks, "How do you know that I won't stab you in the back in the future?" Despite being fearful, Brian firmly replies, "Even if you were to, it doesn't matter." Upon receiving Brian's steadfast answer, Cyan pats him on the shoulder, acknowledging his loyalty, and says, "Don't ever think about betraying me." Cyan then leaves, stating, "I don't want to go to the entrance ceremony. Let's just go to the elemental test." Brian responds, "Yes, young master," and watches Cyan leave, still puzzled by everything. Meanwhile, in the Royal Academy Dean's office, Kundal Quazel evaluated the student intake for the year. "It seems like we have quite a few talented students at the elemental test this year," he mused. Based on the results of the previous assessment, notable individuals include Princess Erin Severus with a 2-star mana control ability, B-rank physical ability, and 52% purity in the light attribute. Seth Chaharkin follows with a 3-star mana control ability, A-ranked physical ability, and 71% purity in the sand attribute. The Royal Academy Dean stroked his beard, holding the evaluation report. These children are surprising enough. However, when it came to this Cyan character, the Dean was puzzled by Cyan's stats: a mana control ability of only 1 star, S-ranked physical abilities, and a dark attribute with a purity level of 92%. The woman in front of him, named Sarika Nigrathi, an academy instructor, expressed, even Alice Vert, who was titled God's Child, had only 88% in the water element by the time she graduated. The Dean evaluated. Interesting. Even the child who was praised for possessing top-notch talents could not match up to her younger brother. Nigrathi agreed, expressing concern. The Cyan character's attribute is darkness. His talents might rot, considering his element. The Dean asked, "Were you aware that Cyan Vert was assigned to the Royal Hall?" Sarika Nigrathi replied, "Yes, I heard from the other instructors." The Academy Dean explained further, "It was the Emperor's orders." This surprised Nigrathi greatly. The Dean added, "Apparently, Cyan saved the young princess from the monsters on the front lines. He's even considering marrying the two. The 5th princess, who was considered a failure, marrying into the Verts, who have never failed to raise extremely talented individuals. What kind of consequences do you think that would have?" Nigrathi speculated, "The conflicts over the succession will be heightened, and the empire might split up over the issue, perhaps leading to a civil war." The Academy Dean reminded her, "Don't overthink it. All we can do is watch anyway. It's for us to witness whether that child will become the empire's hero or bring forth its downfall." Meanwhile, after the examination, Cyan moved along the corridor, thinking about his test results, particularly his attribute purity score of darkness, which was a very high 92%. This led him to speculate, "I think I was in the 80s in my past life. Is it from drinking all that demonic beast blood?" Suddenly, he encountered Krantz in the hallway. While Cyan greeted Krantz normally, Krantz visibly retreated in fear. Cyan privately reflected, "Yeah, I'm sure it's really shocking to see someone you thought was dead." Alongside Krantz was another tall figure who didn't seem friendly at all. This person asked Krantz, "Is this the kid you treat like your slave?" Krantz, now fearful of the question from his companion, stuttered in response, "Huh, yeah, this is Cyan." The young man, with a mocking smile, looked at Cyan and insulted him. "I heard you don't even know who your mom is." Cyan looked at this young man and recognized him as Popper Pinaron, the son of Gam Kingdom's Marquis Pinaron. He was someone who bullied Cyan as much as Krantz did in his past life. Cyan's eyes quickly changed as he thought about those memories. With a wicked smile, Cyan declared, "How lucky of me to meet him now." Popper, still oblivious to the looming threat, urged Krantz, "Move. Someone like him needs a good beating." Krantz, afraid, responded, "Huh, Popper, wait." Popper, unaware of the danger before him, commented on Cyan, What's with his eyes?" Krantz tried to avoid a confrontation with Cyan and suggested, "Hey, why don't we just go to the cafeteria?" But things took a turn for the worse. Cyan suddenly rushed forward, kicking Popper straight into the wall, causing it to crack behind him. Krantz, with a shocked expression, called out the name of his friend, "Popper." After receiving Cyan's kick, Popper now lay unconscious on the floor. Cyan then turned to Krantz, his brother, and said, "Why don't we have a chat, Krantz?" Krantz, terrified, could only stammer apologies. Cyan, with a terrifying expression, approached Krantz, placing a hand on his shoulder, causing Krantz to sweat and nearly cry. Cyan leaned in close to Krantz's ear and whispered, "I don't care what you do behind my back because I'm lenient, but if I ever see you again, you will be graduating in a wheelchair." Krantz, petrified by the threat, was rendered speechless, trembling in fear. After Cyan left, Krantz collapsed to the floor, overwhelmed by the fear Cyan instilled in him. Cyan, with a sinister smile, thought to himself, "I think my life here is going to be fun." Meanwhile, in the Royal Academy's library, Sarika, an academy instructor, was moving through the shelves, contemplating, Cyan, a hero or a downfall? I'll have to keep a close eye on him. She then moved towards the spot where the book she wanted was supposed to be, only to find it missing. She wondered about the disappearance of the book when suddenly Cyan appeared behind her and asked, "Are you looking for this?" Startled by Cyan's presence, Sarika tried to remain calm and forced a smile, saying, "How did a student get in here? Students aren't allowed in here." In her mind, Sarika was alarmed. I couldn't detect his presence. She then tried to pretend she didn't know Cyan and asked, "You're Mr. Cyan, am I correct? Can you give that to me? I really need it for my research." Cyan responded with a friendly face. "This? Of course." Cyan handed Sarika something resembling a letter instead of the book she was looking for. Sarika was about to thank Cyan when suddenly a sharp weapon attacked Cyan from Sarika's direction, catching him off guard. Fortunately, what was cut off was the book, not Cyan's body. Cyan now said, "Is that not what you were looking for, Instructor Sarika?" Cyan changed his tone and said again, "No, the assassin organization's Hall Master of Mist, Sarika Nigrathi?" Now revealed, her true self with a cold gaze, Sarika held the letter hidden within the book and asked Cyan, "What the hell? How do you know that?" Cyan then recounted, "In my past life, I thought Instructor Sarika's first impression was very ordinary. She was very friendly. She inquired about the situation at the academy and was very interested, often conversing with me. She expects growth from someone who's being bullied by his own brother." It sounded like a joke. At that moment, Sarika said to Cyan, "I'm actually very interested in you." This caught Cyan by surprise. Sarika acknowledged Cyan's abilities and said, "It's rare to see someone with 84% in the dark element." Cyan, with a self-conscious face, responded, "But I was told that it's not a special element." Sarika continued to encourage and uplift Cyan, stating, "That's because humanity doesn't know much about it. I actually think that your growth potential is infinite." In Cyan's mind, a thought emerged. I was swept up in confusion. Maybe this person can help me. However, at the current moment, Cyan realized it was my misunderstanding. I was being deceived. I must not fall for that innocent-looking face. Being an instructor here is her cover job. She's actually an assassin. She's the Hall Master of the assassin organization, Mist, and she's hiding out in the academy where all the royals and nobles of the continent come to learn. Sarika, now composed, suggested, "I'll hear you out in my lab. Come with me." Sarika's demeanor surprised Cyan, revealing a foolish expression. In Cyan's mind, he thought, she didn't really react as dramatically as I had expected. At this point, both of them were in Sarika's lab, surrounded by numerous peculiar items. Cyan looked around and assessed, this place hasn't changed. Cyan, now composed, casually sipped his tea, then smiled brightly and said, "You put poison in the tea." In Cyan's mind, he evaluated, I knew things were going too smoothly. Sarika responded with a cheerful smile, saying, "It's not a very severe poison. Don't worry, it'll only melt your organs." Cyan confidently thought, "But this won't work on me. I'm someone who has consumed countless demonic beasts' blood and Emily's food." Cyan then changed his demeanor, revealing a serious expression fitting the current situation, and said, "Maybe use something a bit stronger next time." Sarika, no longer attempting friendliness, said, "Then shall we talk?" She asked Cyan, How do you know who I am? Plus, you knew that I received my orders in that specific unpopular book in the library. You were aware of the exact location too. Are you perhaps trying to tell me that you're also a part of Mist? Cyan calmly responded with a question. What more proof do you need? Hearing this, Sarika became somewhat uncomfortable and exclaimed, Huh? You got a big head because of your elemental test? Huh? Cyan didn't answer Sarika's question but recounted to her. Before setting off to Chatran, I was asked by everyone if just one escort knight will do, and a coachman at that. Cyan continued his line of questioning, because nobles have been murdered left and right recently. Then, Cyan asked Sarika, when did the purification project begin? Sarika feigned ignorance and asked back, the purification project? With hostility emanating from her, she confirmed, I'm not sure what you're talking about. Cyan, also displaying strength, admitted his own hostility and replied, I'm referring to the assassinations, of course. Sarika, now with a threatening tone, said, You might regret what you just said. Unfazed, Cyan confronted Sarika. Are you threatening a student right now? Sarika didn't stop the conversation. She flipped the table they were sitting at to obstruct Cyan's view. With a serious expression, Cyan prepared to defend himself and asked, So that's how you're going to respond? Then he punched directly into the table, breaking it in half. Sarika, with the skills of an assassin, appeared on the ceiling with 2 daggers in hand, ready to attack Cyan. Cyan, recognizing the presence of Sarika as an assassin herself, calmly stated, I thought I proved my identity enough. Sarika showed no intention of stopping. She swiftly lunged towards Cyan, threatening, Even if you're really a part of Mist, there can't be a member I don't know about since I am a hall master. Then followed 2 light fast strikes. Cyan managed to evade the attacks just in time. Sarika persevered, speaking with an excited smile, I won't let you go. Cyan, now wearing a displeased expression, drew the Kirim blade and said, I guess I have no choice then. He then launched a direct attack towards Sarika with just one hand, pushing her back. In surprise at his strength, changing his grip on Kirim, he rushed at Sarika with a serious expression, stating, If you can't believe me, then I'll show you. This was followed by a series of attacks from various angles, making it difficult for her to defend herself. Eventually, she called for a halt to the fight, astonished and questioning the object Cyan held. She wondered, that dagger? Is it the demonic sword Kirim that only the one chosen by Eru can wield? Cyan, holding Kirim, spoke coldly, Do you believe me now? I assume Mist is looking for the successor right now. Sarika, bewildered, questioned, How do you know that? Cyan confirmed with a cold expression, The very person you've been searching for is right here. He then requested, Sarika, bring me to Eru. The scene shifts to a street somewhere in Luwin. The entire area was enveloped in darkness with a sliver of moonlight shining down. Sarika led Cyan using magic to open a door. As the door opened, a gloomy mist emerged from deep within the room. Sarika then said to Cyan, You're not even surprised that there is a mist base in a place like this. Here, this is the path to the altar you wanted to go to. You are on your own from here onwards. Then Sarika left, leaving Cyan alone to proceed into the darkness. Cyan observed his surroundings and assessed, This is a unique realm made with the power of the god of fog. Because of that, it's much bigger than it looks from the outside. Cyan also noticed the presence of ambushers, thinking, Anyway, 2 at 4 o'clock, 3 at 11 o'clock. Shortly after, daggers were suddenly thrown towards Cyan, but he anticipated them and easily blocked them all. However, these attacks were just distractions. 2 masked assassins approached Cyan from behind. Cyan calmly thought, I predicted this, but this kind of welcome ceremony is a bit much, isn't it? As the 2 assassins attacked, Cyan calmly dodged and stepped back. The speed of their attacks was so fast that their figures seemed like flashes of red light. They also threw a barrage of concealed weapons at Cyan, but he remained calm and blocked them all. At the same time, Cyan countered by throwing the daggers back at the assassins, nearly striking one in the face. Nevertheless, the assassin's skills were not to be underestimated. Despite the close range, The assassin managed to deflect all the thrown daggers. Cyan observed the situation and thought, he deflected my dagger in that short moment. He admired their exceptional assassination techniques. Not giving Cyan any respite, all the assassins targeted him for an attack. Their secret technique, Expansion, was activated, followed by the Death Horn formation. Cyan was put in a difficult position as he was attacked from all four directions simultaneously. However, this did not seem to trouble Cyan much. He had grasped their assassination techniques, and in the next moment, Cyan used his own secret technique, Expansion. His entire body emitted a red aura surrounding his form. The assassins were astonished when they saw this, realizing it was their own secret technique. They were even more shocked that this technique was being executed by a child. As the four assassins closed in on Cyan, he quickly executed the skill Bloodthirst Wave, causing the red aura to surge in a wave, covering the surrounding area. Cyan explained, Bloodthirst Wave is a secret technique exclusive to assassins that allows you to manifest bloodthirst into a physical form to attack others. As the assassins were hit by the technique, the red aura enveloped their bodies, squeezing them and making it impossible for them to breathe. After a while, all the assassins who were hit by the technique fell unconscious. Cyan observed the situation and confirmed that they wouldn't be able to get up for a while. However, things were not over yet. Cyan's attention turned to the final assassin, who had been standing and observing without taking any action until now. Cyan watched this assassin and silently assessed, though this one is still standing, is he a higher-up? To avoid being caught off guard, Cyan proactively activated the skill Fog Sword, Unshakable Roots of a Great Tree. At that moment, power was focused into the demon sword Kirim. But before Cyan could use the skill, the assassin began to move quickly towards him, attacking swiftly. Cyan tried to block the assassin's attack and was surprised by his strength. Cyan's mind quickly assessed, he managed to stop my technique midway through. Who is he? Right after, the assassin's mask fell, and the assassin expressed surprise, saying, You've adapted my main skill. The assassin then told Cyan, I can't hold back any longer, Cyanvert. However, when the mask was removed, the assassin facing Cyan was none other than Sarika. Cyan was stunned and surprised by the situation when he realized it was Hall Master Sarika. At that moment, Sarika gave a deranged smile and blushed red as she obsessively demanded, Show me your true powers, Cyanvert. Immediately, Cyan used the skill, Thick Fog 8th Form Assault. As the name suggests, the skill created 8 slashes in 1 second, attacking Sarika directly. This forced Sarika to be pushed back, and the skill inadvertently cut the hair tie binding Sarika's hair, revealing her smooth and beautiful hair. Sarika, with a look of delight, remarked, You're proficient with the thick fog and the fog sword too. You're making me even more interested. She then demanded, Show me your true potential, Cyan. However, before she could finish her sentence, Cyan had already run away. Observing the current situation, Sarika immediately activated the skill called Zeal for Combat. Meanwhile, Cyan was hurrying away from Sarika's reach, his mind filled with worry as he assessed, that is what drives Sarika. A hall master who's drunk with such desire will want to fight until one of us dies. Only those who have experienced this would know the fear on Cyan's face as he started to show apprehension. Meanwhile, Sarika, using the skill to move through walls, quickly approached with a terrifying, lustful gaze like a demon hunting its prey. Her face blushing in a mad smile, she spoke in a terrifying voice, Come back here, Cyanvert, isn't this what you wanted too? Then Sarika used the skill, Fog Sword, Rushing Fog Storm, creating slashes that blocked all of Cyan's escape routes. Cyan tried to defend himself but was pushed back, thinking, I'm not as perverted as you though. At this moment, Sarika said to Cyan, This is a realm created by Eru. The outside won't detect your energy at all, so you don't need to worry about that. Upon hearing that, Cyan decided, All right, I can use all the techniques I want in a place like this. I could probably end up killing her, but oh well. The next second, Cyan's entire body changed. A red aura surrounded him, and his eyes turned red, indicating that he had merged with Kirim. Suddenly, Cyan exhibited strange behavior. His whole body suddenly froze, and then he fell face-first onto the ground, unconscious, to Sarika's surprise. She didn't understand what was happening to him. Suddenly, Kiram's voice echoed, "I knew it. You can rest." Then a dark energy gathered and formed Kiram's body. Sarika, still uncertain about the identity of the woman before her, was taken aback. Kiram spoke with a threatening tone. "I didn't want to intervene. You know me, right?" Sarika recognized her and knelt down to show respect, saying, "Yes, demonic sword Kiram." Kiram, now visibly angry, questioned Sarika, "So what's the situation? You're supposed to worship Eru, yet you're attacking my master." Sarika attempted to explain, "I was just verifying if he truly is who he claims to be, whether he really is the successor or not." Kiram was not satisfied with Sarika's response and unleashed a fearsome power, stating, "You could have just called for your god instead. Then, can I take this as a direct challenge against me?" Sarika did not respond directly but offered an awkward smile and reminded Kiram, "I think we should focus on the successor first." Kiram was puzzled, but when she looked down, she saw Cyan lying in a pool of blood. Alarmed, she exclaimed, "What? Why are you dying?" Sarika explained, "You manifested into your whole form, but that is a very inefficient way of doing it. It eats away at the owner's life force." Hearing this, Kiram became furious and, without mercy, grabbed Cyan by the collar and lifted him up, chastising him. "Hey, this is nothing. What was the point of drinking all that beast blood then?" Sarika intervened, saying, "But I, Hall Master Sarika Nigrathi of Mist, do not reject any fights. Plus, if you're the opponent, I can't turn it down." Kiram was disturbed by Sarika's fighting enthusiasm and thought to herself, "What the hell's wrong with her? I'm scared." At this moment, Cyan began to regain consciousness and demanded Kiram release him. After Kiram let him go, she asked how Cyan was feeling. Cyan, looking exhausted with dark circles under his eyes, questioned Kiram, "Why did you suddenly manifest?" Kiram responded with a mischievous smile, "Just stay behind me. I have to teach that wench a lesson." Sarika, delighted, prepared for battle and said, "It'd be an honor, Kiram." Kiram, feeling disrespected, responded, "Don't be crying and begging for my forgiveness later then." Sarika, unfazed, provoked her further, "I'd love it if you could push me to that point." Suddenly, a whispering voice in Sarika's ear said, "That's enough." Sarika recognized it was Era's voice. At that moment, a blue space portal opened in the air, drawing Kiram and Cyan's attention. From the portal came a voice commanding, "Sarika, send the successor to the altar." Sarika respectfully obeyed and replied, "Yes, Eru." Cyan watched the scene with a sense of relief and quietly affirmed, "Finally, I get to meet Eru, the god of darkness." Inside Cyan's mind, memories from the past resurface. People say the god of black fog is evil. They say the god of black fog kills without hesitation and justifies it as if it was an act done out of consideration. He says in response, "It is what they desired. Others do not decide for you what is right or wrong. If you can just protect your own ethics by dying, then that is enough." Cyan evaluates that anyone would say this logic is insane, but he wants to tell them that this god is just trying to protect the weak. He's an idiot, Cyan thinks. Returning to the present, Cyan and Kiram, with Era's permission, are advancing through the azure spatial door. Ahead of them is an endless staircase leading upward. At the end is a golden throne with a man sitting atop it, waiting for them. As they approach, the man, dressed in the familiar cloak of assassins with a hood over his head, asks Cyan, "Do you know who I am?" Cyan, with a calm face, faces the man and replies, "Of course, the god of black fog, Eru." Eru asks Cyan for confirmation, "Was your name Cyanvert? I've never seen you before. What evidence do you have to claim yourself as my successor?" Cyan looks at Eru and responds, "I'm sure you've already sensed the power of the fog within me." Cyan's answer is clear evidence, making Eru refrain from further questioning. He begins to explain to Cyan that there are two ways to become the successor. One is if he gives them the mist stone himself, and the other is when the mist stone finds the qualified one by itself. Eru then points to Cyan and says, I do not know you, so I assume the latter applies to this situation. Eru also admits that it is true that the mist stone, which should be at the altar, suddenly disappeared last year. On top of that, it's surprising that you were able to awaken Kiram. Even I was unable to track her down. You're handling her pretty well. At this moment, Kiram, in the form of a little demon, expresses a displeased face, thinking, who's handling whom? Eru continues to express, and those eyes, the light in them surpasses your age. I see you're an outsider from a timeline that I am not a part of. In Cyan's mind, he wonders about what Eru has referred to, noting that he's not part of Cyan. He then tells Eru, I thought you were involved in me being here. Eru responds, if you wanted an all-powerful and all-knowing God, you're in the wrong place. I'm not powerful. It's been long since my rights as a god have been taken away from me. Cyan hears Eru's answer and silently admits that he's correct. I shouldn't have expected anything from Eru, Cyan thinks, then appears contemplative and expresses, that's quite convenient for me. Cyan wonders, what are you talking about? Eru, with an excited face, replies, a perfect successor came here on his own. There is less work for me to do now. I didn't even have to do anything. Cyan acknowledges that and expresses, you're as lazy as ever. The relaxed conversation between the two makes Kiram somewhat confused and worried. Eru then adds, anyway, you brought something rather annoying with you. Were you not satisfied with the demonic sword? You're attempting to take the power of the holy sword too. Upon hearing this, Cyan smirks mischievously and replies, I'm not trying to do anything as of now. With a devilish smile, he takes out the broken piece of the holy sword's blade and says to Eru, I just thought that if the world doesn't know of this thing's existence, it might become useless. Seeing what Cyan is holding, Eru seems excited and says, you possess quite the evil hobby. Well, I won't inquire any further. It is none of my business. But I will follow the rules. Eru then approaches Cyan, his entire body emitting a dense and intimidating aura. Coldly, he interrogates Cyan, I shall ask you as your absolute master. Dear successor who has inherited my powers, what do you seek with this power? Facing the terrifying aura and Eru's question, Cyan falls into a state of concentration. In his mind, he recalls his brother and thinks, I was asked the same question in my past life. My answer back then was, I will live for my brother. Cyan chuckles at his own foolishness and remarks, what an idiotic response. Contemplating, he wonders why his response in his past life didn't bother them. Did he not want something more? Eru's words make him remember as Eru reminds him, remember this. There is nothing more dangerous than blind faith. Cyan thought that Eru already knew of his pathetic end. He resolved that it had to be different this time. Slowly, Cyan approached Eru and replied to his question, I don't have grand plans like a great cause or some divine faith. I'm going to use your power purely for self-serving purposes, just for me. Surprised by Cyan's answer, Eru remarked, what is right and wrong is for you to decide. Are you confident that you will not regret this? You'd best answer carefully. Depending on your response, I might kill you on the spot. Maintaining his composure, Cyan responded, I don't care what kind of consequences my actions might have. I'm not going to follow anyone's orders. That is the path I am going to take. Through Cyan's response, Eru speculated, you seem to have some kind of plan. Will you tell me about it? Cyan immediately replied, nope. Eru then said to him, it doesn't matter as long as you will purify my name. Well, I won't ask any more questions. You're quite boring. Suddenly, Kiram rushed forward using her demon-like body to attack Eru. Eru simply dodged and said, then I shall now converse with my daughter. Kiram, feeling exposed, grew angry and charged at Eru. However, Eru held her back and said, you've changed quite a bit. Do you like your owner that much? You're so obedient. Confused and angered, Kiram asked, what the hell are you talking about? With an adorable expression, Eru replied, I'm very happy to see you like this. This only made Kiram more uncomfortable, and she shouted, get away from me. Stop. I'm trying to be nice to you since I don't have anything to give to your owner. Ugh, Crazy bastard. Owner, do something? Cyan, witnessing this, dryly remarked, wow, what a wholesome father-daughter relationship. Kiram then grew even more uncomfortable with Cyan's comment. At that moment, Era's beak-like mouth almost touched Kiram. Suddenly, magical circles appeared, leaving Kiram bewildered. The energy from the magic circles helped her return to her original form, further confusing her. Cyan, witnessing this, wondered, it's not using up my mana either. Did Eru use his own power to do that? Angered, Kiram grabbed Eru by the collar and demanded, what have you done to me? Unperturbed, Eru replied, nothing much. I just gave you some of my life force. He then asked her, why? Do you not want it? Implying that Kiram would need a physical body to serve Cyan's desires. Hearing this, Kiram flew into a rage, screaming at her father and accusing him of being foolish for thinking about such indecent matters. Cyan, standing by, observed the interaction between the two and concluded that Eru and Kiram were indeed like father and daughter. The next day, in the student dormitory, Cyan was in a state of confusion. Brian, concerned, asked him, young master, what is going on? Cyan responded calmly with a smile, I don't know either. Just let it be. Brian, feeling uneasy, disagreed. He whispered to Cyan, but young master, I don't think this is something I can just let be. In front of them were Kiram and Sarika, looking at each other with affectionate eyes, though their way of affection seemed different from others. Kiram was visibly annoyed by Sarika's presence, but still tried to put on a smile and said, oh my, an instructor coming to see your students so early in the morning? Don't you think that others will start talking about how special your relationship is? Sarika, not one to back down, retorted, of course, it's all to guide him onto the right path. This is a perfectly normal relationship. Kiram glared angrily at Sarika, her eyes like threatening bullets. Shouldn't a hall master be a bit more careful? Sarika replied sharply, what does it matter to you what I do? Mind your own business. The scene of the two women conversing resembled a mythical battle of wits. Their story continued as Kiram declared, owner only needs me. You need to stay away from him. Sarika, equally defiant, asserted, he's my disciple. Cyan, standing amidst their conversation, wore a troubled expression. Unsure of how to resolve the situation, he stood up and announced, I'm going on a walk. Brian, fearful, pleaded with Cyan, young master, don't leave me with them. As the verbal duel between the two women continued, Brian sweated nervously, afraid of being caught in the crossfire. Outside the city, sunlight illuminated the towering buildings. People bustled about, engaging in commerce and conversation. Cyan chose a high vantage point for himself, sitting alone, admiring the city's beauty and feeling a sense of contentment. Suddenly, the smell of blood wafted in from a distance. With Cyan's keen senses, he detected it in some alley where a student was being surrounded and attacked by others. He was kicked to the ground, crashing into a nearby barrel. The blow was so strong that he coughed up blood, clutching his aching body. 3 other students stood by, laughing and taunting. One suggested, hey, let's try that. Another eagerly agreed, damn, you're so right. Let's do it right now. Immediately, he conjured an energy sphere, advancing towards the bullied student. He then forcibly opened the student's mouth and said, I brought you a little snack. Your friend made it just for you. You're going to eat it, right? As he spoke, he attempted to launch the energy sphere towards the bullied student, grinning with sadistic pleasure. The bullied student, terrified, closed his eyes tightly, trying to escape. Suddenly, a commanding voice demanded that the bully stop his cruel actions. It was Erin. She sternly questioned the violent student, doing something so cruel to a fellow student. Aren't you embarrassed to call yourself a noble? The violent student, interrupted and angered, retorted, I happen to be Barrett Louis Smill, the oldest son of the Garum Kingdom's Duke Louis Smill household. He then asked for her identity. Erin, standing tall with crossed arms, introduced herself proudly. I'm the princess of the Ushif Empire, Erin Severus. When Barrett learned she was a princess, He showed no hesitation and instead greeted her with a condescending tone. "Ah, I was wondering who you were, but you're just the fifth princess of the Ushif Empire." He then stood up, leaning in towards Aaron with a disdainful expression, and expressed, "It's an honor to meet you." Aaron, feeling uncomfortable, replied, "I don't feel like shaking your hand." She then demanded, "Barrett, you better explain this situation." Barrett smirked and responded, "I think you're misunderstanding something." He then gestured towards a student and suggested, "Should we ask her?" Advancing menacingly, he grabbed the student and pulled them forward to face her, asking with a threatening demeanor, "Are we bullying you right now?" The student replied nervously, "No, they weren't bullying me." Upon hearing the answer, Aaron encouraged the student, "You don't need to hide it. Just look at you." The student, avoiding Aaron's gaze, said, "It's fine. Please, just leave. We're just playing around." Barrett, pleased with the response, taunted Aaron, "You heard that, right? I'm starting to be displeased." Aaron, aware of the situation, firmly stated, "Whatever. I'm going to take her with me." Disrespecting Aaron, Barrett immediately grabbed her arm tightly and threatened, "You didn't understand?" Puzzled, Aaron questioned, "What is the meaning of this?" Barrett growled, "Didn't you hear Leximus asking you to leave?" Aaron threatened Barrett, "If you don't let go of me right now, I swear on my name that." Barrett, sneering contemptuously, interrupted, "Ha! You're nothing more than a weak little." Before he could finish, Cyan appeared suddenly, kicking Barrett and causing him to fall to the ground. Aaron, seeing Cyan, brightened as she was rescued from the difficult situation. However, Cyan's attention shifted to the woman with pink hair in front, realizing she was Leximus. Leximus, witnessing the scene, worried about the situation escalating because of her. Meanwhile, Cyan wondered if this was the Leximus he knew from the past. Memories flooded back as he recalled their past encounters on a rooftop. Cyan and Leximus engaged in fierce combat for unknown reasons. Despite being a woman, Leximus's swordsmanship was formidable, attacking Cyan aggressively. Cyan defended and retreated, maintaining distance and assessing the situation. He remembered and revealed, continent's best swordsman, Leximus Klein. He knew she was originally from the Ushif Empire, but for some reason, after graduating from the academy, she entered the Count Klein household in Garum Kingdom and even changed her nationality. The battle between them continued with blue and red sword slashes cutting through the air. Leximus executed a sword strike from below, slicing the ground vertically. Cyan attempted to evade by leaping high but was surprised when Leximus immediately leapt above him, swinging her sword in an arc from above. It seemed Leximus struck Cyan, but to her surprise, it was just his cloak. Unexpectedly, Cyan appeared above Leximus, catching her off guard. Before she could react, Cyan dove down, stabbing Kiram's blade straight into Leximus's back, successfully pinning her to the ground. The sword pierced through her from behind, scattering debris around, and Leximus's sword slipped from her hand. She coughed up blood and lay motionless on the ground. Cyan revealed that he was ordered by the Empire to kill her. His mission was to assassinate her. However, upon infiltrating the castle, he ended up engaging in an official duel with her. There wasn't any particular reason for it. She was someone who had reached the peak of swordsmanship without mana. He didn't want to stealthily assassinate someone who had been hailed as the continent's best swordsman. Returning to the present, Cyan still felt conflicted when encountering the person he had once attempted to assassinate. Leximus, at this point, remained a naive girl visibly intimidated by Cyan. Other students rushed towards Barrett, calling out to him and expressing concern about the current situation. Barrett, with an annoyed tone, rebuked the nosy bystanders attempting to stand up and grumbled, "Why are there so many nosy bastards today?" He then confronted Cyan with a sharp look and asked, "Are you Cyanvert? I have heard about you. You came back from the front lines, huh? Did you want to join our little game?" Cyan, considering Barrett's proposition as merely a ridiculous game, voiced his opinion that the misuse of mana marble could lead to the destruction of mana within the body. Then Cyan glanced at Barrett's group and said, "A game where you force-feed someone a mana marble," and declared, "I'll join." Immediately after, Cyan unleashed a shadowy version of the Renin, a purple monosphere appearing in his hand. Moments later, Cyan's Renin transformed into a large ball, growing large and engulfing the area above them, leaving Barrett horrified and speechless. Cyan's gaze then turned menacing as he questioned Barrett. "What are you doing?" He continued to demand that Barrett open his mouth to begin their game. The events following this moment were unknown, but the scene shifts to the Academy's infirmary. Leximus sat on the bed, her wounds bandaged. Aaron and Cyan were also present. Aaron reassured Leximus, "Your external injuries are mostly healed, but you need to be on bed rest for your internal injuries to heal. So rest up for today." Leximus expressed gratitude for their help, saying, "Thank you so much. I don't know how I can repay you for this." Aaron, excitedly with her nose in the air, proudly remarked, "Ha! You saw how those bastards ran away when our Cyan scared them. We just did what we should have, so don't worry about it." Cyan stood nearby, feeling puzzled by Aaron's words. His expression turned slightly somber as he evaluated Leximus's injuries, noting fractures as well as a slight concussion. "It's shocking that she managed to endure that. I guess the continent's best swordsman would be different." Suddenly, Leximus hesitantly asked, "Do you perhaps know me? I feel like you've been looking at me." Cyan, puzzled by her question, responded coldly, "I thought I knew you, but I don't. Sorry if it was unpleasant." Leximus, embarrassed, lowered her head and said, "It's nothing." Their conversation left Leximus puzzled, but she brushed it off and asked, "Where's your dorm? What if those bastards come to bully you again to retaliate or something?" Leximus, with a saddened expression, replied, "Commoner Hall." Upon hearing this, Aaron confirmed, "Commoner Hall? You're a peasant?" Leximus admitted, "Yes, I was enrolled especially thanks to Instructor Velton. He promised me financial support during my school career, but he suddenly got fired." Cyan confirmed the situation, saying, "So, in other words, no one's here to support you." Leximus acknowledged that Cyan was right. Cyan continued, "You might have to leave the academy then." Aaron, feeling sorry, exclaimed, "Oh no, you poor thing." Cyan then suggested, "Why don't you just take her as your person, princess? Learn swordsmanship from her while you're at it too." Hearing Cyan speak all this time, Aaron naively pointed to Leximus and asked Cyan with confusion, "What are you talking about?" "Leximus is a boy." Cyan, puzzled, corrected Aaron, saying, "She's a girl." Aaron, upon hearing the answer, stood frozen, as she didn't realize Leximus was a woman. Leximus, now flustered, explained, "I didn't mean to deceive you, Your Highness. It's just having short hair and boy clothes are more comfortable, so a lot of people mistake me for a boy." Aaron apologized, "No, I'm sorry. I didn't even realize." Even Cyan knew. In her heart, Aaron told herself, "I guess I failed as a woman." Leximus, flustered, denied, "No, no, I should be the one apologizing." Aaron then returned to the main topic and asked Leximus, "Anyway, what do you think?" "I think Cyan's idea is pretty good. You won't be bullied by bad people if you come under me." Leximus wondered why Aaron would help her. Aaron laughed awkwardly and responded, "Well, I don't really like being alone." However, the real reason Aaron believed was she couldn't just do nothing either since she is the princess. Leximus immediately thanked Aaron, expressing, "I'll make sure to become someone you can be proud of." "Thank you so much." Aaron then turned to Cyan and said, "You don't need to thank me. It was all Cyan." However, Cyan was no longer there, having left without them noticing. Outside the medical building, Cyan stepped out and thought to himself, "I did enough. I'm sure Princess Aaron will take care of the rest." But I see the reason Leximus abandoned the Ushif Empire. She never would have lost her mana if it hadn't been for Barrett Louis Mill, the continent's best swordsman who never lost her mana. She's going to be difficult for even me to defeat. Anyway, my interest right now is elsewhere. Cyan held a joyful mission order in his hand and expressed, "The order that I received from Hall Master Serika this morning. It's my first purification mission as a mist." Thank you all for watching our video today. If you enjoyed it, please consider subscribing to our channel and turning on notifications so you won't miss any future uploads.